taking the family on vacation without my wife and stepdaughter. My stepdaughter is in high school and has a best friend she's known since they were babies. My wife and I have 2 children together. My stepdaughter's best friend has a birthday in December. We are well aware of her birthday because we attend it every year. This year my side of the family planned to take a huge overseas Christmas vacation which required us to ask the friend's mother for the party date. We planned and bought our tickets to leave 2 days after the party so that my stepdaughter wouldn't miss it. Monday my stepdaughter came home and told us that the party date was moved to accommodate some of her friends' family members who decided last minute to fly in for it. The problem is that the date was moved to one well after our departure date. Here's the problem. First, we're not made of money, so for us to change the flight and hotel for our family will more than double the cost. Second, it will be a 2 weeks overseas trip, so I already had my vacation approved and can't change it. If we fly out after the party, my vacation will be cut down to only a week. Third, I only get to see some of my siblings only at Christmas, so if I don't go this year, I won't see them until next year. Fourth, my entire side of the family planned our vacation around the party date months ago. My original solution was to tell her friend's parents to keep their original date since my family planned around their schedule. My wife immediately shot down that idea. My second solution was for us to leave as planned but change only my stepdaughter's ticket since she's on break and is old enough to fly herself. My wife shot that down too since she's also friends with the other mother and wants to go to the party. My wife's solution is for us to just fly out after the party. I don't like this idea at all because of the added cost and lessening time. Our talk turned into arguments that's lasted all week. Last night my wife put her foot down, said that we're not missing the birthday party, to which I replied that she's not missing the birthday party. I told her I'm flying out with our 2 kids as planned whether or not she's on the flight. That took our argument to the next level, to the point my stepdaughter called me Anna, so I tried to ground her, at which point my wife said I couldn't because she was justified. Everything is a mess now. Edit: there are 2 common questions and I think I should answer. It's a sweet 16 birthday party. It's going to be huge with over 100 people in attendance and catered food. I've been told almost everyone in their class is attending. The other mother and my wife have been friends since the birth of their girls. She helped my wife through her divorce and my stepdaughter stayed with them for days at a time during the worst part of that process. Comment 1. It's a birthday party. Why can't your wife and stepdaughter and her best friend just have another celebration either on the original date or after you get back? I feel like we're missing some context here. Why is this party so important to them? Is there something really special about this birthday in particular? Either way, you bought plane tickets to see family that you almost never get to see, that absolutely comes before a birthday party. If your wife and stepdaughter really want to stay for the party, so be it. Your wife can pay the change fees for their tickets since it's her choice and you can fly out as planned. I'm split between NTA and NA, but either way I don't think you're in the wrong. Comment 2. Why is it the 2 other kids have to miss out on a chunk of their vacation for someone they, presumably, don't know or care about? If your wife wants to pay out the extra, then she should go ahead and do it. It sounds like you've offered compromises and they're being massive babies about it. NTA, especially if you've paid for at least half of the holiday. Comment 3. NTA. The vacation plans, time off requests and travel arrangements were already planned, scheduled and paid for already before the friend changed their party date. Your wife and stepdaughter are being unreasonable by asking you to waste money and your paid time off to accommodate this request. It's not your fault her friend changed the plans. If your wife and stepdaughter can always catch a later flight, no reason you need to stay behind. Calling my cousin a hypocrite for marrying a rich man? Before my cousin married her husband, she was one of those eat-the-rich anti-capitalist people who blamed rich people for the world's problems, especially climate change. I love her, but she was annoying about the whole thing a lot of the time, and it was almost her entire personality at one point. She hated rich people to the point that when she met her husband she claimed he only wanted to date her because he wasn't used to not getting his way because he grew up rich, and she'd get angry whenever he did anything nice for her. Even when she married him she claimed it was okay because she could give all of his money away if she did. They moved to Australia a few months ago and they were supposed to stay there for 3 years minimum, but my cousin found out she was pregnant 2 weeks ago and, according to her husband, had a complete meltdown. She's never lived away from her parents before and she said she was already overwhelmed because her life has been changing so fast, so finding out she was pregnant was the final straw. Her husband is really sweet, so he dropped everything and they left Australia the very next day. He has to go back after the holidays to sort some things out, and it seems like they're going to have to be long distance for a while since my cousin doesn't want to be so far from family. She told me he was planning to fly back and forth while he sorted some things out. I pointed out how that would be really bad for the environment since she still acts like she's super passionate about climate change. She claims they don't have another choice, which I pointed out is very clearly a lie. I also told her she had become a hypocrite by marrying her husband since he was everything she stood against personified. I think her pregnancy hormones got to her because she started crying when she normally wouldn't cry over something like this. I feel bad for making her cry since that wasn't my intention. Comment 1. YTA, it wasn't pregnancy hormones, you were just mean. One thing we learn in life is never say never because life has a twisted humor. As people grow, their views and opinions change, and that's totally okay. It was a fair comment about the environment because that is true, but is he taking a private jet? If not, and if he's flying on commercial planes, then it really doesn't have a big environmental impact anyway. Also, she's clearly going through something, so maybe bring this up jokingly at a later date, not seriously when she's have life crisis. Comment 2. NTA. If she was a judgy know-it-all and now all of a sudden there's a grey area where she is concerned, I would be like WTF. She was black and white before, but now that she would have to make sacrifices it's different. I would also want to point it out. Would I point it out to a pregnant lady? Maybe not. I would just distance myself from someone like that, but I can't fault you for saying something. Her morals changed really quick when it comes to herself. If you have to keep a relationship, I would only clap back and bring up the hypocrisy if she ever starts going on about climate change and the rich ruining the world. She's part of the problem. You get the money and you stop doing the right thing because money is comfortability. Comment 3. NTA, must be nice to not be able to follow your convictions throughout life. And to the others saying life changes etc., if she had truly believed what she was preaching she wouldn't have dated the rich guy. But because she wanted money she got the rich guy. Telling my half-sister that I don't care that my dad refused to raise her? My mom died when I, 26M, was 6. My half-sister was 2 at the time and her dad was not in her life. My dad took full custody of me. He shared custody with mom when she was alive. My half-sister was sent to a foster family because none of mom's family were fit to take her and they couldn't get in touch with her dad or any of his family. I can't say I ever really missed her. I knew about her but I didn't really love her back then, so I never had any guilt for being raised in a loving home with my dad and stepmom while she was in foster care. We had 2 visits arranged by CPS in the first year after mom died, but then those stopped. She reached out to me a year ago via DMs and we have communicated a bit through there. She found my dad through social media recently and told him he was a disgusting shit and her not being his shouldn't have meant separating us and not caring about her. She told him a real good dad would have taken her because they loved me and couldn't stand the thought of an innocent little kid in foster care. She told him she would celebrate when he dies and will turn me against him if it's the last thing she does because I need my eyes opened. I found out about what happened and told her if she was going to try and turn me against my dad then she doesn't need to talk to me again. She went through how shitty she feels he was for letting her go into foster care and how a good person, a good dad, a good man, would have saved her. She told me I should hate him for what he did. I told her I didn't care that he refused to raise her. That it wasn't his job to. She asked how I could be so cruel and cold about this because we're siblings and I should adore her and want the best for her. She kind of lost it in DMs honestly, so I muted her for a while and she kept sending them, calling me all kinds of names. ETA, my parents were not together when my mom died. My dad never had any part in raising my half-sister. He was never in the same household as her. I was still a baby when my parents broke up. Comment 1. If I understand you correctly, your dad is not her father and never had any custody of her. She's just his ex's kid. NTA. He's not her dad. She never lived with him. He had no connection to her. He was already a single parent to you. Why would he be obligated to adopt another kid? I can understand her being resentful about it, but it's completely unreasonable for her to try to turn you against him. Also, she reached out to you 20 years later and is acting like she's supposed to be the most important person in your life. Comment 2. NTA, her anger is misplaced. She should be taking this out on her bio family. They failed her after the loss of your mother. Your father had no responsibility to raise a child that was effectively a stranger. She may have had a rough go of it in the foster system and probably feels resentful that you had a loving home and she didn't. But therapy would help more than dancing in your father's grave. Comment 3. NTA. This is sad, but your dad was not your half-sister's parent. He and your mum were already separated, divorced, and had been for some years. I don't know the reason he couldn't take care of her, but that's his decision, not yours. You were a child, and it seems there was some difficulty in your family in that you had not made a bond with her. After that, it really isn't your choice. You were separated when you were children. It's not unreasonable that you don't have a relationship now. Telling my sister-in-law I adopted my dog, not her, and she can spend Christmas elsewhere if she's scared of my dog? My 30F brother James, 34, is married to Sylvia, 33. Not sure if this is relevant, but Sylvia is saying it is, so I'm including it. She grew up and aged out of foster care. Me, my husband, James, Sylvia, and my parents were meant to go to my parents' house for the holidays, but unfortunately they had issues with their plumbing and their house is now unheated, so they are staying with me and my husband, and the celebrations are now at our home. This has upset Sylvia because we have a dog. Sylvia has trauma relating to large dogs and as such is petrified of my dog. He is a very large rescue dog. We are working on retraining and socializing him, but so far he's been fine around most people. She knows all this, but she is still scared and saying she won't be comfortable staying in the house with the dog. She suggested we send him to a boarding kennel for the holidays, which I am unwilling to do. He is not good with new environments or unfamiliar men, and the house is his home. I don't see a reason to remove him from the environment because of Sylvia's issues which have nothing to do with him. The family was split on this and arguing in the group chat, and Sylvia sent a message saying that as family, we should accommodate her. I replied saying I have a responsibility to my dog, that I adopted my dog, not her, and that if she can't deal with it then she needs to spend the holidays elsewhere. This kicked off an argument because Sylvia said I was weaponizing her background, which I don't think I was. My point was that I accepted responsibility for my dog, for his well-being and his comfort, and frankly, the safety of others around him. I have no such responsibility for Sylvia. My mother is saying I shouldn't have used those words as I should have known it would be triggering for her. My dad is on my side. James is now saying Sylvia doesn't feel welcome at Christmas, even though I've told him she is very welcome to come to the home as is. I'm just not removing the dog. Edit, for everyone asking why we can't keep the dog in another room, we offered. The visit is supposed to be several days, but we offered to keep the dog separated, but Sylvia said she will be anxious the whole time knowing he's there. She said any barking/howling will trigger her, and that she won't be able to sleep knowing he's in the house. Comment 1. I mean, I wouldn't have worded it that way, but asking you to board your dog for the holiday is not a reasonable request. It sounds like you could communicate with a bit more sympathy for her. A fear of large dogs, especially a trauma-based one, is not unreasonable. Are you talking about them staying through the holidays in your home, or just coming over for dinner? If only for dinner, it shouldn't be hard to keep the dog away from her. If staying over, then she should find other accommodations, or they should host. Comment 2. I can see how this went sideways, given the use of the word adopted. Yes, people do say I adopted a rescue, but I think how it came across was a dig at her being previously in foster care, so not adopted, as she eventually aged out of the system. I agree in the point you were trying to make, i.e. it's the dog's home, not hers, so why should he have to leave, but I think your choice of words was unfortunate and taken out of context. You could have explained it better. NTA for making your point of feeling that you should not have to board your dog to accommodate her, but sort of the R for how you said it. Comment 3. Nah, because everyone has valid points. I was attacked by a dog when I was 8, it was traumatic and, like Sylvia, I am still terrified of all dogs to this day and would not go over to your house either. But I also agree that your dog has every right to be at home and comfortable and shouldn't be put in a kennel, and I would never ask anyone to accommodate my personal issues with their animals this way. Could she and your brother stay in a hotel instead or rent an Airbnb? Apologize to Sylvia for saying something that hurt her feelings even though you didn't mean it that way. Make nice because you love your brother.